Assalamu alaikum. This is the constitutional advocate Gurrez King. Tonight is the 19th of the February year 2025 and I'm going to raise a landmark judicial question after observing the confrontational battles of the human beings into the multi-coast neglected areas of the human being stat. Whether such human beings are in the fit positions or such human beings are trying to confront with the economy or into the reformative services as to understand the intellectual thoughts of the scientific resolutions or to the even human existential areas of thinking, and these things are social discrepant behaviors of the social disorder individuals of the said society in the Lahore divisions especially. After observing 1 decade exposure to the public sector, I am observing that human beings, they are not into the resolved method of having the perpetual observations of the incremental forces of the legal channels as to the modes of assessment to the character buildings. So today the capitalism culture, this is one point of the social discrepant behavior, that the capitalism raising valuations of the human beings, that the humans, they have considered the valuable entities or the capitals to be ascertained despite of the humanistic approach as to be the mode of character building. Yes, so this is a thought while dealing with the fatherhood or motherhood. This is the number 2 point, fatherhood or motherhood during the brought up of a child. Number 3, such child could be de facto child. De facto child means in fact child or guardian ad litem child. Number 4. Number 5, we have to observe social evils of this society. In 5th point, we observe the social evils of the said societies. While expressing to the social evil of the said society, one has to oversee or review the elements of the public crimes as well as the public civil disobedient neglected transitional and non-transitional areas of non-resolved method of equitable entrustment or non-equitable entrustment regarding the lifestyle of a human being. At the 6th point, we have to observe the balance sheet of the religious areas, and at the 7th point, on the moderation lines of the exercising working. 8th point, we have to overview the elements of the well-balanced areas of the lifestyle. And ninthly, we have to review the channels of the critical examinations of the tissues of humans' own inner soul every night and day in and night out. At the 10th point, what we have to do or ought to be destined with the human being, that we are observing that due to the raising in the capitalistic developed human beings never prove cost effective. The capitalistic brought up children appears to be cost neglected into the government services, private services, both. So I'm going to raise this point. While we are observing that the capitalism approach and the religious challenges, so it is not a possible thought for a human as to perform both into the same shoes. And meanwhile, if a person who is performing both questions of the facts into the resolved methods of the lifestyle, thereafter he or she will subject to the ultimate challenges of aggression or depression. Number 11, elements of the aggression and depression. So a lot of the majority of the human beings, they are suffering out of the elements of the aggression and depression, and they are just converting such elements of the depression and aggression of their own failures into their surrounding. I'm not blaming to anyone. This is a general habit of the public at large in the Lahore divisions. So while if you are talkative in nature, this is your 12th mistake, and you are talking with a stranger and you don't have the sufficient reliable and knowledgeable base of the human tissue organs in organic or inorganic ways of understanding on your own soul, thereafter you will lose even a tissue under the Tissues Transportation Act 2010. Yes, and if a person if a person, irrespective of the gender, doesn't know the valuation of its own organ, she will subject to manipulations of the tissues, internal bleedings. Sometimes number 14th point we have to observe at the 14th point that while internal bleeding sometimes, according to the medical jurisprudence, one has to oversee internal bleeding elements. I'm scientific legal jurist, so I observe these things very deeply. Internal bleeding elements means that due to the high blood pressure of the human soul, having suffering from 14th point previously described by myself earlier, thereafter such human being will have to face the music of the internal bleeding, sometimes internal breakdown elements of the tissues due to the public nuisance offense, private nuisance offense, shorogul, be-intaha shorogul. So if any person commits public nuisance and private nuisance offense, thereafter he or she is basically an apostate person having no religion. This is my scientific Federal Shariat Court observation order of today. After observing 5 years practicing the law practice under the legal reform units in the Pakistan. And if at the 16th or 15th point we have to observe a lot of the criminals, vagabond approved criminals in the public streets, they are doing these stunts. These stunts are neither public stunts nor the public beneficiary points. They are basically thieves and they are molesting the males and females. And at the 17th point we observe the whistleblowers to the females modesty. Yes, this is a very crucial point. Hereafter we are observing at the 18th point the narcotics overprocessed narcotics drug addicts in the public sector after the females in order to ascertain their own personal lust element. 19th point, such females subject to the narcotics overprocessed rapes in the Lahore divisions, while such females are doing small household jobs or official jobs in the Lahore divisions. As per my observation, 90% females subject to these vulnerable questions of the legal challenges in the Lahore division's jurisdiction under the Police Order 2002, Police Rules 1934, along with the Constitution of the 1973 with effect to the Article 100 and 1900 jurisdiction, and whether at the 20th point such rates will subject to if I am raising a landmark judicial question again over and over. If female subjects to the rape thereafter, what would be destined to such female as to refresh her modesty into the compilations of the moderate lifestyle? This is a subjective question of today. This is a very technically deep question of the legal reforms unit. So while I was observing such questions of the laws, because the 21st point is very different. So after facing the molestation offenses at the point of the females at large, sometimes females become prostitutes. And when I observed this point in my life during the year 2020, I wrote the law regarding the prohibition order of the prostitution offenses or the prostitution crimes in the Islamic Republic of the Pakistan Act 2020. But due to having low self-esteem as well as the knowledge-based hub, the human beings, the males and the females, they are not willing to adhere or acknowledge the affirmative facts of the reconciled way of the assessment of the such laws, because they are doing vulnerable questions of the humans non-resolved method of equitable, economical, unresolved method of mathematical equations of their own thoughts under the scientific resolved methods in their lifestyle. So I'm not cramming, this is my practicing area, so I'm doing this by heart. So whether at the 22nd point we have to observe the fluctuations of such females and males, they produce illegitimate children. So such illegitimate children do drugs over and over again in order to produce such overproduced, neglected narcotics, overprocessed human beings in the public sector. Thereafter, 25th point is very strange for the public. Their females become subjected to the universities. Since the evaluations of the universities, such females subject to the questions of the with consent rapes, sana, or having the ultimate drugs intake in sheer values of the pills or to the narcotics injections. And sometimes such females don't have the valuable thoughts as to execute a lawful marriage. 26th point is a very different one. After evaluation of the scientific narcotics over percent human groups of the Pakistani Lahore Divisions, that males are doing drugs at the 27th point because as to have children, and 28th point the females are doing drugs. 29th point, the females are doing drugs as to evolve the love triangles. In nutshell, the 30th point, the comparative observation of the constitutional litigation of the year 2026 would be cured as that the collateral resultant imaginative, reproductive, or inorganic disorder of the human tissues would be profound in the whole of the children, because such children are not cost effective as to think beyond the box. They are considered congested with their own thoughts as to do what they consider to do under their own consensus. And we are facing such brutalized nation, and such nation have no valuable consideration for their own future in interest or future in reliance to compilations of a moderate concurrent area of thinking or the operative area of thinking. So as a nutshell, again, part B, they are overthinking and their females become subjected to the divorcee repatriation offenses in sheer value of the overdose, narcotics, overprocessed thinking, and their males become constructive neglection marital offenses. Constructive neglected marital offenses means marriage after one marriage, second marriage, third marriage, fourth marriage, divorce over divorce. These are some things which I have discovered during the area of practice of mine, year 2020, 2016 towards 2025 up till now. Stay blessed.